Hey everyone, welcome to my last video before the Season 2 league start tomorrow. I want to talk about the hybrid DoT version. It's going to be a poison and bleed version that I want to play with Heartseeker as my second character. After I finish my Heartseeker, my Icicle Heartseeker build guide, I want to transition into this one, try out how strong DoT is in endgame. Before I start, just real quick, because of the last videos, I added the Lootfilter. It's in the video description for the leveling guide and also for the Icicle Heartseeker guide. I updated Hail of Arrows multi-shot for 1.2. And also, sorry about the audio quality. I know my mic is not the best. I recently had some update on OBS and something is fucked up now, but I will buy a new headphone soon, so the quality is a bit better. Now we start with the hybrid DoT version. Why do I go with hybrid DoT and not just purely focus on one element or one ailment? Is pretty much because, first of all, bleed and poison scale pretty similar together. Also, Heartseeker has, of course, a lot of bleed and poison support here. And one very interesting note, in my opinion, I think from a design perspective, one of the best DoTs in the entire tree. It's this Deep Rust Armor Shred into Poison Chance conversion, and this allows us to do a very specific way of gearing for this whole setup. Also, we can use a lot of passives, actually, something like this, to convert all the Armor Shred into Poison. Also on gear, Armor Shred, shred is something that you can get on a suffix, like gloves, like an amulet, also we can get it on the bow now finally, because before it was kind of bugged, I think, in the tooltip, so now we can get it. Also here, so many sources where we can get Armor Shred, which is just like 100% converted into poison. But the main focus still will be bleed, but like I said, with all the additional stuff and the same way of scaling, like dexterity, damage over time, and also in combination with Salt the Wound, it will probably be a crazy damage dealer, especially on bosses. The only reason why I don't league start is because I'm a little bit scared, like I said in the previous video, because of survivability. What the problem with ailments is that it takes a while, so there's a damage ramp up time. And with a squishy class like Marksman, if you don't deal damage quick or early on, then you'll probably get overwhelmed and die pretty quick. So if you have like very strong gear, of course, this will probably feel good in endgame and also while leveling. But as a league starter, when we don't have all this crazy gear here, it will probably be a little bit problematic. So that's why I still go for crit. But this version definitely is something I will try as my second character. So the main part again, because of Salt the Wound, we can scale crit multi to get a lot of additional like Fizz Pan and Poison Pan. And because of this, as I said before, Deep Rust, Armor Shred into Poison, we have a very unique scaling this time with critical multiplier and Armor Shred, which normally doesn't apply to elements. So that is probably a very cool way to build this whole character here. And I will probably just start with the skills first. So Heartseeker, pretty much the crit version was on the left side here. The whole ailment part is here on the right side. I will still go with the Puncture proc because here we don't have any additional proc from a bow or like any weapon. So I think the problem will be clear speed. And we could technically include something like Hail of Arrows, but the problem with Hail of Arrows is that it normally scales better with flat damage. Sure, you can also play it with this quiver here together. But like I said, I still have also the feeling that we run into mana problems if we constantly cast 4 and Heartseeker. I have to try out which is like the better version. I still like only want to play with Heartseeker alone, holding right click, do the Puncture procs. But we have to see, like I said, if this proc alone is or feels comfortable for clear. Right now, I have no clue. I will test it out, or you can maybe use this guide and like test it out for your league star. But I will definitely give you feedback on this one. So skills again, Heartseeker. We start with the Puncture proc here, and immediately I also go in the beginning into the Deep Rust node, because here we already get 100% Armor Shred. So the poison to have in the beginning and also something like this will probably also deal a lot of single target damage early on. After this, the same way we go up to this node here. Like I said, I think this is a no-brainer, very strong node for sure. And then we pretty much go to all the bleed and poison nodes here. Bleed is usually the better ailment, so that's why I go first for this one. This one should be enough, like I said, with the crazy amount of procs, to put it on 1 point, so that we get the Crimson Shroud, which is like 50% increased bleed chance per stacks up to 3 times. After this, I went into this node. This is pretty much the counterpart to this one. This one only applies to bow hit damage and not on ailments. I think I saw this one that someone thought that this is ailment damage, but this only goes for the hit version. Also, again, before I put the 20th point in, so this is always my 20th point. When I get more dex, then it has more value. Also, put 1 point into here so that you cannot miss an enemy again with your Heartseeker, and the rest I purely put into poison chance and the attack speed. But normally I want to get all the stacks up first to ramp up the damage, and the attack speed comes a lot from gear. Puncture. This time I want to leave Puncture in my skill tree and not with Dark Quiver, because like I said, I think clear is going to be harder, so we need a skill here. Also the whole setup, a little bit different of course to my previous one. So we go with the Frenzy again. We take this debuff, which is enemies take 10% increased dot damage here. I convert everything to bleed because I said bleed is the stronger ailment here in this whole setup. And the rest is pretty much everything poison chance, bleed chance, more damage, so that we kill enemies quicker and apply as much ailments as possible. Usually puncture procs probably don't hit enemies too often. That's why the damage ramp up will be hard for trash mobs. We have to see. Once you have very strong gear, probably you still one-shot them, but this is something that we need to test. The rest of the setup is pretty much similar to what I did in my crit version. So the proc here, I will not go this direction because here you can also get Poison Shred, which is a source that you usually cannot get anywhere else. The physical shred I get from here. That's why I just went for this one here for my Poison Shred instead of going here. And again, same setup for the other 3 skills here. If you want to know about this, you can just watch my crit video. It's the similar setup for you. I will just give you like an idea how I basically bring this whole build together. For the passives, also looking pretty similar here in the beginning, but of course with the DoT version we take the split stacks here, very strong with all the Heartseeker recurves. 8 points here, 8 points. I'm still scaling a little bit of dex, not as much of course with Morning Frost, but again it's a good increased damage source, also with 4% per point. Then on Marksman it looks a little bit different here because of course we don't go for crit, so we get a more multiplier from here. We will get the Fizz Shred, and we will also get the additional bleed chance here. We get the poison chance plus the poison duration with a 5-point bonus. 1.1 point still the same. This is the very unique way, which I actually really like with this Deep Rust node. So we push our Armor Shred up with this node. Sadly, we have to put 4 points into here. The bow damage doesn't affect us because we only stack ailment damage, not the hit damage anymore. And this one here, crit multi, again, because of the Salt the Wound, as I said before. So this is going to be a very unique way for ailment builds. And again, of course, we just use the 3 points here for the 40% recurve chance. Blade Dancer, I didn't put anything. Like I said, dex not as important as with a Morning Frost build. And here I just went for the more damage, health, dodge, and a little bit of endurance threshold. Just a little bit of defenses because, as I said, I think our survivability will be way worse than with the crit version. So now the most important part, gear. This is quite unique, I think. We start with a bow. Actually, this tip I got from a buddy of mine, Fo, who's also a very long-time player, very good player also in my opinion. He's going with the Gathering Fury. I would have gone with the Acid Flash bow, which finally has like a good reason to be played, because otherwise before it was always a meme. Because of this poison and shred, there's no synergy, but now with this Deep Rust node, we finally have a synergy actually with this bow. So you can either go with this one. I would probably recommend like a 2-3 LP plus bow, and then you will get a shit ton of poison chance, poison damage, duration, everything is pretty much in here. But the main damage probably comes from this bow, simply because of this ability to repeat your Heartseeker projectile. And also we stack a lot of increased attack speed, which is always good to, of course, make the ailment damage a lot better. This bow is also quite easy to get with LP. So the main stats that we want to have is always bow attack speed as much attack speed as possible. Again, remember 3 mana cost for our Heartseeker. Crit multi is the way how we scale our fizz and our poison pen. Bleed chance here, like I said, bleed is always better than poison, but here we take apply armor shred instead of poison chance to get even more value out of it. So these two bows very strong, I think, in this whole setup. If you don't have them, you can go with something like an obsidian bow, because it has the highest base attack rate here with 1.1. Also increased physical damage, very strong bow also in my opinion to get here. Then we have this crazy helmet actually with increased damage over time and bleed duration, very good base of course. Dexterity, armor shred again, crit avoidance, health. You can also seal like bleed bow on hits. You can also put it as another prefix. Again, very strong stats to put the aim on damage up. We have this body armor here with increased damage over time. Again, dodge rating very strong. We go for the +4 Heartseeker. We go for the apply bleed chance. We go for health, dodge. Also pretty typical setup in the suffixes. Here in the bone amulet, if we struggle with survivability, we could also go with the bleeding heart here, because this is like a global leech. Could also be very strong, but we probably will struggle a lot with resistances if we don't go bone amulet. Something to test around. Crit multi, like I said, wherever you can. So bow, amulet, and relic because of salt the wounds. Damage over time is both for poison and bleed. Shred, health, very strong stats here. Probably the best quiver because it also has a lot of bow attack speed already without LP. It has the bleed on bow hit on implicit. This one also very easy to get with a lot of LP. Chill chance I would highly recommend just to make defense a little bit better. Then we have the shred. Bow attack speed, like I said, damage over time. Also very strong stats. This one here, something I could recommend because we get +1 to all physical skills. It also has bleed chance. It has a movement speed, which is also very strong. And it should be also easy to get with 1 or 2 LP to get the cleanse and increased health on top of it. Again, you can see a lot of uniques already here in this build. Valdir's is very strong because it has physical damage over time leeched. Also, you get the leech from here. So good sources for survivability. Still, you could go with the bleeding heart to get even more leech, but this one has the important bleed duration. Same with the boots here. That's why currently, in my opinion, bleed is better because it has just way more duration attacks coming from uniques. This is what not poison has as much as bleed. And what you want to get on top is like the crit multi, dex, or some defensive stats. You can pretty much choose whatever you want here. The boots, very strong for a bleed build. Because of the duration, because of the more damage to moving enemies. And also here, try to get movement speed, try to get something like this frenzy experimental mod here to get even more attack speed out of it. And the last one, as I said, salt the wound. It's more of a unique or like a rare unique, but has, like I said, insane potential with marksman, with rogues, because we scale a lot of crit multiplier. So it has a lot of value for this hybrid setup that we go for. And for the rings, just pretty basic. Again, red rings if you want to go, if you have them. Other than that, just dex, increase damage over time, because they both apply to bleed and poison. And the rest is just defenses. Try to get as much defensive stats as possible. Also with the small ones here, get them in to pretty much max this one out. For idols, you can go with something like this. Pretty good value here with the bleed chance and the crit multi, 4 of them. If you want to put out a little bit of more damage, of course, focus more on resistances here. It's pretty much up to you. And for blessings, also a setup where you can change around a little bit, like void resistance, crit multi again. Here I would highly recommend to go lightning resistance. Here you can actually go all res, crit avoidance, or 100% bleed chance actually, but I would also prefer to go the resistances here. Endurance, armor, make it as defensive as possible in the blessing set. Like I said, I think the damage with this whole setup is quite strong. Only probably the clear speed will be a bit harder here, but it should be a very, very strong boss killer with this whole setup here. As I said, I will try it with my second character, or after I brought out the Icicle Heartseeker. I hope this one helped, just to get like a different overview of how you could play Heartseeker. I think Marksman for the next season has a lot of value with multiple bows. like I said, Gathering Fury, this Acid Flash combo, very cool. Reign of Winter, Dragonsong, a lot of cool concepts actually for Heartseeker. Quite happy about the build variety that the skill offers, so we will see like how this one turns out. Thanks for watching, guys. Tomorrow, good luck, have fun with the league start, and I will bring out daily content for my Heartseeker, for my Icicle Heartseeker build. Take care.